We ready to get started? Let's do this.
Okay.
All righty, there you are. Yay. Welcome everybody to this month's webinar. Today we're going to be talking about understanding your value and justifying your commission. To get the most from this webinar, we want you to take lots of notes. You can text your questions using the control panel there. We're going to take as many questions as we can at the end. A little bit of housekeeping though, if you've got questions for us regarding the webinar, use that question section. If you've got technical issues, if you'd please use the chat. There's two of us monitoring that, so if you guys could do that for us, that would be great. If you want to connect with Darryl after the webinar or at any time, you can find him on all the social media platforms at Darryl Speaks. Darryl is the author of 3 real estate books. That first one there, all by McGraw-Hill, that first one there, How to Become a Power Agent in Real Estate, is actually the best-selling real estate book on Amazon, which is very cool. Darryl has also been named one of the top 5 real estate coaches in the country. And if you don't know who those other folks are, that's okay, because they're not the ones presenting today. So.
I like that part. I love that part.
I know, right? It makes me laugh every time. And lastly, Darryl has the CSP award, which has only been presented to less than 2% of speakers worldwide. So we're very proud of you for that. We're excited to have you on today. We're excited about this topic. So on that note, Darryl, take it away.
All right, welcome everybody. So I'm going to continue on the housekeeping that we've got here. So one of the questions I get, or we get in this webinar, which we'll cover right now, usually is, when am I going to be live in your local area? If you go to that website at the bottom, poweragentseminar.com, and just write that down, and you'll find out what city I'm going to be in next week. I'm doing a run in Florida, so I'll be in a few cities there. Second one is, people ask if this is a sales pitch, this webinar. I've attended webinars before where it's not, but I do want to be clear about something. This webinar is actually a training course for our power agents. These are our coaching students that are in that program. So there's some of you on the call that are not power agents, so you're a guest. But from time to time, I am going to be referencing the power program, the website, where there's certain things for our students. But regardless, you're going to get a tremendous amount of value from this. But if you decide you want to get more information or become a power agent and stuff like that, there's the website. You'll see that on some of the slides. You don't have to write it down right now. And we will talk about it at the end. But real quickly, just to give it a context, this is the power program is $27 a month. There's no long-term contracts. You can cancel any time. And the first 30 days is free for people. So, which is a real benefit to that. Yeah, because you'll be able to get a copy of the slides so easily as a power agent. Now, this is what I'll be referencing to power agents, is that from time to time, I will reference where some of these slides are in the classroom of the power program. And when you click on that, there's all of these other forms and checklists. There's literally hundreds of forms in the power program, or ebooks or dialogues or flyers. It's really quite loaded, and because we're always adding something to the program, we have a separate tab called New Stuff, so that way you can always find the latest and greatest stuff. And let's see. Also, gang, power agents, don't forget, every week is the coaching call. Every Monday, I do a call for you that's live, where you can call in, ask me questions. We record those calls so you can download them, listen to them in your iTunes or however you want. Plus, there's the digital magazine of top producers that we interview every month. And don't forget the Facebook closed group, which is really taken off quite a bit, because I'll always be posting news-related articles. Plus, there's brainstorming, and the networking has just been pretty incredible. So we're going to start with this session now. This is going to be a fire hose. There's a lot of material I'm going to be covering with you. And so don't get too overwhelmed. Just take, if you just get one idea, you're going to get more than that, of course. But if you can lead away with just one, you'll be great. Now, I am going to start off with talking a little bit about the NAR lawsuit. So the webinar is not focused on that, but this lawsuit has really opened up something for us about validating our commission on listing appointments and how we work with buyers. So I'm going to get into listing and selling techniques, but I'm going to have this lawsuit be the springboard for the conversation. And because some of you may get this in your business, people might ask you about it. So I think you need to be informed and educated. So you're not like, I don't know about it. You know, I don't know what to say. Now I do have to do a disclaimer. So let me just move something here so I can read this. Our opinions are our opinions. And although we may share our opinion passionately, there's no intention to fix prices, fees, conspire to restrain trade, or to monopolize any financial numbers or commission amounts that I use in this webinar, because I am going to use specific numbers, whether it's a percentage, dollar amount referenced during this webinar are simply examples and should not be considered as standard, normal, or agreed upon amounts. Every broker or individual agent should charge the fees they feel is appropriate to their business. Also, you should not use this information shared in this webinar as a substitute for obtaining legal advice from any attorney, licensed or otherwise, to practice in your jurisdiction. Also, you should abide by the policies and procedures of your real estate brokerage, and for members of the National Association of Realtors, adhere to the Code of Ethics and Standards. Now, I'll be referencing realtors and stuff, so we just got to be clear if realtors and all the stuff that you see right there, realtor.com, National, those are trademarked, those are owned by the National Association of Realtors. Now, for those of you that get the magazine from Risk Media, it's coming out in the next issue in August, where I wrote a very scathing opinion about, you'll see the title of the article is The Ridiculousness of the Lawsuit of this law firm that's bringing it to us. And I gave you some metaphors and analogies actually in this article, so it's pretty good. I'm going to do one of those. Now, so to delve into this lawsuit, I want you to look at this screen and I want you to tell me your, well, you can't tell me, but I'm going to assume that the feeling is, looking at this, you'll get the feeling that I got, which is, boy, this looks like a really cheesy, like low commission sales company. You know, home sellers are ripped off at the top over there, and over to the right, you know, there's brokers are charging too much. I want you to know that this cheesy graphics that to me is really not professional is from the law firm that's actually instigated this class action suit against the National Association of Realtors. To me, these are a group of attorneys, in my personal opinion, that just want to try and make a score financially. Here's a couple of the false allegations they've made, and this is going to make us stronger when it comes to our commission. Our commission has not changed over the years. This is one of the things in their what's that called, that Julie, that legal thing? It's called the brief, I think, or whatever they filed. All right. So, okay, so let me just show you something. According to all my research, as Julie said, I've been working on this for a month. According to the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, The Real Deal, in the 90s, our average commission was about 7%. In 2002, the average was 6%. 2015, 5.5. In 2017, the average currently is 5, or roughly. I think it's down a little bit more now. 2018. So as you can see, that first allegation is false, that our commission has gone down over the years. As a matter of fact, by 27%. When you do the math, that decline shows since the 90s, our commission has gone down 27%. I think that's a false allegation. Here's another one. The average, I'm sorry, I have something blocking my, I've got to move that. Our average commission of 5 to 6% is substantially higher than other countries. First of all, for them to even reference other countries, it blows my mind, because so we're going to look at what other countries are doing. Does that mean we should change how we do stuff like our healthcare? We should do what they do, other countries, or we should change how we build bridges, or how we do our speeding, and how we process our food? I mean, to look at what other countries do, that's just absurd. But okay, let's play that game. Let's look at that. So these are the specific countries that they referenced in their pleadings. Australia, 2%, the UK, 1.5%, Israel 4, and Germany. So I guess we should be like Israel, or we should be like Germany in every respect of our country. But here's what they don't tell you in the pleading. First of all, in Australia, check this out. The homeowner pays all the marketing expenses upfront. So when an agent in Australia gets a listing, at the listing agreement, the homeowner cuts a check right there for $500, $5,000, in some cases $10,000. They write a check to the agent. Now, let me tell you something. If we had all of our expenses covered up front, yeah, I would charge less than maybe 6 or 7 or 5, because right now, you know, that's not how we do it. We're taking a big risk as real estate agents, that we're spending our money with no promise of getting paid back on any one listing. Israel, they actually make the buyers pay 2% and the sellers pay 2%, but they make the buyers pay. It's not even an option. In the UK, they don't use an MLS. That 1.5% is for exclusive listings. If they want to put it out to their version of an MLS, then it's actually 3%. And in Germany, same thing, similar to Israel. In some markets, the buyer pays the full amount of the commission of 4%, which we'll talk about that. When we make buyers pay the commission, it actually hurts the seller, because that's less money the buyer has to purchase a house. But here's what's interesting in that brief. If you're going to compare to other countries, let's continue that. See, they don't talk about France, which they charge 5%. Italy is 5%. Japan is 8%. And Mexico is 7.5%. And when I was preparing this, Julie, I realized that Mexico stole my country Italian's flag. It looks almost exactly the same. Like a little thing in it. So shout out to Italy and Mexico. All right, now, if you want to know, this is where I found this, by the way. The Wall Street Journal has a graph of every percentage of every country, and that's where I got my data on those countries. And plus, I know a lot about some of those other countries. I'm going to show you how to get a copy of some of this later on. So hang till the end, because there's some bonuses I'm going to give everybody. All right. We demand a blanket, non-negotiable buyer side commission fees. We demand, this is part of their brief, we demand a seller to pay a non-negotiable buyer side. Okay. First of all, we don't make demands of anything. We don't tell homeowners they have to do something. What we do is we go over and we say, here's how I work. Here's what I do. Does it work for you? Great, sign here. If it doesn't, don't. All right. The other thing on that is homeowners have choices. There are so many different options that a homeowner makes. So as an industry, for them to suggest that we are making homeowners pay a certain amount to the buyers is really just a lot. Okay, now, you know how it works. The homeowner doesn't even pay the buyer's agency fee. What the homeowner does is they pay us, the listing agent, and then we decide what to pay and offer out to the buyer's agent. The homeowner does not cut two separate checks, one for the listing office and one for the selling office. Again, a false statement. I love what John Shabby, the president of the National Association of Realtors, said. It said the suit is wrong on the facts, it's wrong on the economics, and it's wrong on the law. When a seller elects to permit their brokers to pay compensation to the buyer's brokers, it frees up buyers' cash, thereby potentially increasing the number of buyers able to bid for that home and the amount of funds available for the purchase price. I'm not going to go through the whole scenario, but if we started breaking up the commissions, making buyers pay the commission, a portion of it, you and I both know that that means that the buyer has to use money that they would use to put down on a property. They'd have to use it towards a commission, which makes it more difficult for the buyer to buy, which limits the number of buyers to the seller, and the less buyers to the seller means a lower price to the seller because there's less competition. If we were to change our model, it would actually lessen the competition for that seller. Okay. As you can tell, I'm a little passionate about this. We conspire. What's that? I'm fired up, baby.
Fired up.
We conspire to fix commission rates of 5 to 6%. That's what they're saying. Okay, well, let's just look at that. First of all, you will not find anywhere where the National Association of Realtors or anybody else says this is what agents should charge. We've been really good of not doing that or suggesting or, okay. Now, wait, let me go back. Here's what I say. Could we say here in the United States that there is kind of a range, an average of 5 to 6? Yes, if you look at other publications, The Real Deal, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, MSNBC, CNBC, everybody refers to agents. They ask for 5 or 6%. These are other publications we have no control over. This is what they're saying. But here's what I suggest. The market bears what we're charging. Well, let me show you. This is 4 pizzerias close to my house, which, by the way, the upper right-hand one I love the most. I forget the name now, but it's a new one I just found. Anyway, if I order a pizza from any one of these companies, I'm going to pay between $12 to $14 for a pizza pie. Now, did these 4 pizzerias get together and conspire and say, you know, listen, gang, we're going to charge everybody in Wading River $12 to $14 pizza? No, they're charging what the market is willing to pay for it. If one of these pizzerias decided to charge $25, they better have gold sprinkle on that if I'm going to pay it. Otherwise, I ain't buying it. But let's talk about conspiring. If this law firm is going to say that we as an industry are conspiring, well, what's good for the goose, watch this. This is on, I got to move my camera because I can see, Cornell Law School, attorney's fees. It says the amount, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to jump to this. It says right here, it says a contingent fee. It explains it. It says it's a percentage of the client's recovery. Example, 33%. So in Cornell law, it's saying that attorneys charge 33%. Watch this. Here's another one. NOLA, which is also another legal website. It's saying that contingency fees are between 33 to 40%. This is my favorite one, gang. This is the American Bar Association. This would be kind of equivalent to the National Association of Realtors. And on their website, it says, in a contingent fee arrangement, the lawyer agrees to accept a fixed percentage, a commission, often a third, 33%. On the American Bar Association, they're saying that an attorney will charge a 33% commission. Now, if anybody is conspiring, I would say it's the American Bar Association. Now, but watch this. This is the New York State Bar Association. This is the notes from their meeting in 2011. And they're telling, the New York Bar Association is telling their attorneys, these are the minutes from the meeting, that you should charge between 33.3%. And you can also charge 50% for the first 1,000, And if you go to the New York Bar's public website, they basically copied and pasted those percentages. So listen, gang, if anybody is is conspiring between that industry and our industry, I'd say the attorneys are more a heap of a trouble than what we should be looked at over here. Now, the question is, why is this happening? Why are we getting attacked with our commission? Well, I want to show you something, a video, and I'm going to make a point. So let's take a look at this video here, and hopefully it's going to work on this webinar. Tell me, Julie, if there's a problem here, okay?
Okay.
So, how are you feeling? On a scale of 1 to 5. Wait, 1 to 5? When it comes to feelings, it's more like 5 million. There's everything from happy to extremely happy. There's also angry.
Really angry clients.
Actually, really angry.
Thank you.
And C36B, angry.
You clever, aren't you?
You're barefoot.
Yeah.
There's also apprehension. Regret. Relief. Oh, and there's empathy.
Oh, I got this in Zurich.
Actually, what's the opposite of empathy? But what if your business can understand what your customers are feeling and then do something about it? You can turn disappointment into gratitude.
Right, we gotta try this.
Can't, I'm working. Turn problems into opportunities.
Thanks, guys.
Change the future of your business. Change the whole experience. All right, who wants to go again?
All right, now, Julie, somebody said they couldn't hear it. Is that?
It was a little choppy.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I
But
have
when
another.
on the
What's
review, it won't be as choppy when they rewatch the webinar. I think
Okay.
some of that is just
Yeah, so
GoToMeeting.
you guys will get a copy of the webinar and we'll tell you how to do that. But okay, so here's the point. What that video, if we couldn't hear it, if it was a little choppy, it was basically saying, you know, there's different feelings that customers have. And I think what this lawsuit has taught me anyway, is that we have to listen to our customers and clients, you see, because civilians, and that's what I call buyers and sellers, civilians, they don't see us as a valuable resource as much. The buyers, you'll use us, but especially with homeowners, they may not see how valuable we are. So we have to pay attention to that. And I think we also have to raise the bar of our profession and learn how to communicate that value, which is what we're going to now start getting into. Now, for those of you, this is also a minute. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. If not, I want to get it in the recording anyway, so you can listen to it later. But you can simply find this. This is the NAR ad campaign that they have about who we are, and it's just powerful because it'll help raise the bar of our industry.
That R stands for realtor. What makes us different? It's our code. A code that encourages us to be community advocates and fight for safer neighborhoods. A code that inspires us to stand up for our veterans so they have a home they deserve. A code that built the relief foundation for families affected by natural disasters. A code that puts ethics at the core of every business decision, large or small. It's that code that fuels us to work with lawmakers to protect property owner rights. Because we believe owning a home is part of the American dream. It's all in our code of ethics. That's what realtors stand by. That's who we are.
You know, I love this campaign, and it inspires me. And it's part of the whole about us raising the bar of our industry, right? So let's talk about how to validate our industry on appointments, especially. You know, when you think about it, and some of these things you can actually use on a listing appointment, and some of my students, you've seen this one before, and you'll see some new ones. If we were sick, we would call a doctor. And you could say this to a homeowner, Mr. and Ms. Hunt, if you were sick, you probably would call a doctor. And if you were getting sued, you would find an attorney. And if you're getting audited by the IRS, you would call an accountant. Now, we may not like one of these three, but we'll still call the attorney or the accountant or the doctor. Why? Because we see the value. We see that they know more than us. And gang, part of what we need to do, and the problem in our industry and why this whole commission thing has always been a challenge for us, is because people don't, when they're thinking about selling their house, they're not thinking realtor, they're not thinking real estate agent. What we need to do is position and create that value, that we are as important as any of these other folks that they have on their team. Now, what I did, and there was a webinar that we did where we went through 26 reasons why a homeowner shouldn't sell their own home. And in this webinar, I went through all these 26. It's on the Power Program website. But I'm going to just pull from one of these right now, which is the first one. What you save in commission, you'll actually lose in sales price. Statistically, agent-assisted homes sell for more. So when a homeowner thinks that they're saving the commission because they're not paying it out, study after study shows that actually homeowners wind up selling their house for less. As a matter of fact, according to NAR's profile of home buyers, that FSBO sell for $190, whereas for agents, real estate agents, we sell for our average sales price is $249,000. That's actually a difference of 32.5%. Now watch this. If we charged 15% commission, based on this statistic, a homeowner would still double that investment. They would make more money even with that. Let me show you another one. This was when the market was really hot before the bubble busted. USA Today came out with this article: for sale by owners can be a hard sell. Agents are worth their commission. When they did their study, USA Today, they put it in a little graph, and I'm going to zoom in on it, that the for sale by owner, based on USA Today, said that the average sales price at the time was $137,400, but the people who were neighbors to these people, whoops, sorry gang, the average sales price was $175,000. So based on USA Today, an objective publication said that we sell houses for 21.49%. Again, we could charge a ridiculous 15%, and a homeowner would still net more money. Actually, it's not ridiculous if they're going to sell it for 21% more. Now, this we put this flyer together for the power agents, which is we took NAR's profile of home sellers and buyers, and we pulled just the seller part. They found in their study that 91% of home sellers worked with a real estate agent to sell their home. 91%. So a FSBO is a very small market. They may try in the beginning, but they lose valuable time. They wind up listing with an agent anyway. 99% for recently sold homes, the final sales price was actually 99% of the homeowner's final listing price. So that shows you that real estate agents are really good at helping a homeowner sell their house pretty close to their asking price when it's priced properly. 44% of the sellers offered incentives to attract buyers. Now, honestly, according to the study, for sale by owners actually sold in less than 2 weeks, 73% of them. So they sold pretty quick, 73%. But also, for sale by owners, typically sell for 26% less based on their study. Well, of course, if you sell something at a 26% discount, it's going to sell quicker. So homeowners are losing money when they're on their own. You know, think about it. Anything that you're selling, whether it's car, furniture, or clothes, when we see somebody selling it privately, we expect to pay less for it because there isn't a business backing the sale. And I'm going to use a car as an example. I went to kellybluebook.com when I did this, and I punched in at the time when I did this, I put my car in. So I had a 2010 Cadillac Escalade, and it said, you know what, the average sales price, if I were to buy that car from a dealership, it was $37,000. That was the average. But if I were to sell the car privately, right, or if I bought the car privately, I could expect to pay $33,000. That means selling a car, you're going to sell it for 10% less for the exact same car as opposed to when it's in a dealership. And that's just one example, gang. Once again, furniture, appliances, clothes, when we see somebody selling it on their own, we're going to pay less for it. And that's the true about our industry. Let's talk about the flat fee discounted model of real estate. Now, for salebyowner.com, homeowners can pay a flat fee to get on, and they actually have this great website where they say, hey, if you're selling something for $2 million, instead of you paying a traditional broker, look, you'll save $105,000. Wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah, let's do for salebyowner.com. But here's what they didn't put on their website. This was in the Wall Street Journal. The guy that owns for salebyowner.com, Kobe Sambrato, tried selling his condominium in New York City for 6 months. And because he didn't sell it in 6 months, the guy that the website who created that company actually listed with an agent. Because of that, he got multiple offers, and he wound up selling for $150,000 over his original asking price. He paid a 6% commission. This guy paid $129,000 commission, the guy who just said to homeowners, don't pay a commission. Now, let's look at this, buyowner.com. The guy that created buyowner.com, well, he had a nice house in Clearwater, or St. Petersburg Beach that he was selling for $3.7 million. Guess what? He hired a realtor. This guy, $3.78 million, hired a co-op banker. So here's my point, gang. Here are people who are promoting and saying, don't work with an agent, do it yourself, save this money. And these very people are actually listing with an agent and paying a commission. Now, power agents, those slides that I just showed you are in the listing appointment tab of the USA Today article, of the buyowner.com. You'll see all of those articles in that listing tab. Here's some other thoughts about commission. Oh boy. we've got the commission conversation begins before you even enter the office. And here's my point on that one, gang, is that you have to have confidence. Some of us, what we know about ourselves, we wouldn't even want to pay ourselves a commission, right? We wouldn't even want to list with ourselves. So a lot of the commission conversation has to do with you respecting yourself and believing in your own value. The second thing here is, the seller needs to hire based on skill, not based on price. The mistake that homeowners make is they are shopping for the cheapest real estate model. And whenever you shop by the cheapest, you wind up losing, and I will show you that. Sometimes you just need to validate the difference between what you charge and what they're willing to pay. Sometimes a homeowner will say, hey, listen, I'm willing to pay a 3% or 4%, whatever. I'm doing, again, percentages as an example. And if, let's say, as an example, you want to get 6 for yourself and the homeowner said, I'm willing to pay 4, you don't have to justify the whole 6. You just have to justify why you're 2% better for what they already have bought into. So I want you to start to keep that in mind. Also, when you lower your commission, whatever you set as your commission, you're actually lowering your standards. There is no law that says you have to negotiate 1% increments. Sometimes some homeowners feel like they just need to have a win. So if you're battling with that homeowner, they're on the edge, they want to list with you, and you're trying to do 5, and they're like, no, I really want to do, so maybe you come off that by 1/4 or 0.5%. And I just want to give you this last one real quick, because I'm going to be teaching other material. One of the things that I did that helped me too is I would actually type on the listing form 3 different choices on commission, and I tell the homeowner to pick one. They're not going to get any different service, but here's what I say: the higher you go, the more marketing money we have to promote it, which will generate more buyers. And ironically, what would happen is the psychology of this is most people would pick that middle number. They don't want to pay too little and they don't want to overpay. So that kind of directs people. So that's just a little extra tip. Let's talk about handling objections. I'm going to go really quick, gang, because I have so much content here. What I'm about to show you is in the objection handling tab of the Power program, okay, for the Power agents. Will you cut your commission? So that might be just, sometimes the best way to handle that one is just simply say no. You don't have to get into a long explanation. You know, remember Nancy Reagan, her drug thing was just say no. Sometimes that's all you got to do when they ask you, will you cut, one time, and that's it. The other broker charges a flat fee. Here's an example of one company. What they'll do is you pay a monthly fee and you get these things you get on MLS or Realtor.com, and you get 24 photos and you get some forms and stuff, and they're charging an actual monthly fee. Well, let's talk about that model when they say I can pay a flat fee and get on MLS. If, let's say, you were to do some construction on your house, let's say you're not going to sell it, Mr. and Mrs. Hanahana, and you want to build an extension onto your room, and you get all these tools. You go to Home Depot and you get a hammer and a ruler and da-da. Let me ask you a question. You take all these tools, you come home and you put it on the kitchen table. Here's my question. Are those tools going to jump off the table and build you an extension? Of course not, because the tools are merely a tool that needs to be used. The tool in of itself does not get the job done. It has to be used a particular way. And when it comes to selling a house, MLS, Realtor.com, photos, flyers, open houses, those are merely tools. But what I can do for you is I know how to use the tools to get your house sold for the highest possible price. Here's another one. You get what you pay for. You can, if you're sick, you can go to a private doctor. Now, the thing about going to a private doctor is it's going to cost you more money than if you went to a clinic. But that old adage that you get what you pay for is true, because I'll share something else with you about that. A steak is not just a steak. You can take a steak and go to Outback and have a nice dinner at Outback, but it's going to be a totally different experience. It's going to produce a totally different result than if you were to sit down and have a steak in Capitol Grill. Now, it's going to cost you more money, but you're going to have a nicer meal. You're going to have a nicer experience. Again, you get what you pay for. This is why 91% of homeowners actually wind up selling with a real estate agent, because the experience is different. The result is different, which ultimately ends in more money for the homeowner. You know, you can, you say if you wanted to get a meal or you wanted some protein and whatever, you can go to a Burger King or McDonald's, or you can go to a nice restaurant. It's not the same. You get what you pay for. So there's a few different ways to talk about that. Now, this iBUYER thing, I don't have time to talk about the iBUYER because we did a webinar just on this topic. Now you'll notice I call it iBUYER gimmick. Here's why. Because I will say this much. The iBUYER is a misnomer. It should actually be called iInvestor, because these companies on the screen, and I did a tremendous amount of research on this too, their commitment is not to buy the house. Their commitment is to invest in the house. And when you invest in something, you want to buy as low as possible so that way you can flip it. These people are not moving into the house. They're buying to flip. Therefore, the homeowners hurt it. And I've been with Julie, right? We've got so many seminars booked at other boards of realtors for me to come in and do a seminar just on this. Now, for those of you that, if you were to go to the Power Program, just make a note of this. There's a blog that we posted about the iBUYER. And that webinar is in the blog, and it goes through the whole hour of that topic. The other broker said they'll do it for less. So let's handle that objection. So John Ruskin, he was a philosopher, a lawyer in his time, very well respected. There's three things he said. I really love this when it comes to paying less. When you pay too much, the worst that happens, you lose a little money, that's it. But when you pay too little, you sometimes lose everything, because the thing that you bought was incapable to do the thing that it was bought to do. How many times have we hired somebody in our life, whether it's a mechanic, whether it's a contractor, and we paid less, we shopped based on price, and not only did they come in and not do it the right way, but it wound up costing us more money because we had to come and undo what they did, plus the money we lost when we paid them. There is hardly anything in the world that someone can't pay a little worse and sell a little cheaper, and the people who consider price alone are this man's lawful prey. People, there are companies that will actually, and I'm not going to mention them in real estate, I've already referenced them. There's people that will look for the prey, and those are the homeowners that are looking to hire somebody based on what they charge, not based on their skill. Big mistake. The common law of business prohibits paying a little and getting a lot. It just can't be done. And I'm going to give you some examples of this. Southwest Airlines, they created their own word called transparency. Philosophy created by Southwest Airlines in which customers are treated honestly and fairly, and low fares actually stay low. Now, with all due respect to Southwest, and I don't fly them unless I have to. Their original, I'm being honest, their original motto was low fares when they first launched. But the business, let's go back to Ruskin. The common law of business balance prohibits paying a little and getting a lot. It can't be done. You cannot offer a lot and charge little. You can't. You're going to run negative. Well, let me show you. I just did this last night getting ready for this webinar. This is Southwest Airlines, me flying from New York to BWI. If I were going to fly next week, I don't know if you can see the date there, the price came out to $384. You'll also notice that they're flying me through Chicago, which from New York to Baltimore to go up north, it just makes no sense. So this is a longer flight, and I'm paying $384. When I went to Hipmunk, which by the way is what my company uses, look at all of the other airlines and all of the other options. My point here is Southwest is no longer charging a little. Now you'll see American Airlines, they're a little bit more. It's $582 versus $384. So you've got a $200 difference. But look, it's a direct flight, an hour and a half. Right, you go right there. Now I want to just go back to that. This 384, I remember when I could fly to BWI, one of my clients at the time when Southwest Airlines first came out, was Long and Foster. When they first came out, I could have done this trip for $100. Southwest Airlines, $100 to go back and forth to BWI. Now we're almost 400. Why? Because you cannot offer a lot and pay a little for it. What does Kmart do? When they have items that they want to sell and move quickly, they just drop the price dramatically. And that's what happens when it comes to value, when we're charging too little. When somebody advertises, hey, I'm the cheapest, what they're not advertising is I'm the best skilled, you see. That would be like if you had a brain surgeon and they advertised 20% off. Would you call this brain surgeon? Of course not. Unless all you care about is price, right? Oh, I care about price, it's a good deal. I'm amazed when people will have their eyes lasered, and they care more about the price than going blind. I want the best skilled person. And when it comes to real estate, this is the most important asset. Here's something else. I don't want to get lost in the weeds here with this the monies and the percentages, but just trust me on the numbers. The reason why we call this an upfront apology, if let's say I'm an agent and I say, you know what, Mr. Ms. Hanna, for me to make a profit and to sell your house, because I am doing this to make a profit, to cover my expenses and to make my profit, I would need 7. Now, if I were to come down 6%, that's not a 1% cut. If you actually do the math, 1% of 7 represents a 14% cut. So going just from 6 to 7, I'm taking a cut by 14%. To 5%, it's 29, and to 4, it's actually 43%. Now, if I'm willing to take a cut based on what I'm telling you, then it's almost like I'm saying up front, I'm sorry for all the marketing I'm not going to do for you. Because for me to take a 14% cut in pay, that money's coming from one of two places. It's either coming from the money that I need to support my family and send my kid to college, or it's coming from my marketing expenses to promote your house. I don't want to take it from my family, therefore I'm going to have to cut back on my expenses. You get what you pay for. If you were going to fly from New York to California and you had a choice between a car driving there, taking a train, or flying, it's all relative. Driving may be the cheapest when it comes to the money you spend, but it's going to take you the longest, the most uncomfortable, and so on and so forth. You get what you pay for. Mr. and Mrs. Hanna, with me, you're going to fly first class. I'm going to take good care of you and get you to your destination quickly, smoothly, for the money that you need to make this move work. All right. We can sell it ourselves and save the commission. Well, according to NAR, and I'm not going to go through numbers on this, but for those of you that get a copy of these slides, this is pretty self-explanatory. If you were to take somebody's hourly wage, whatever they're bringing home, let's say it's $70 an hour when you take the whole family income, and if it takes 100 hours from start to finish to sell a house, that means that they're costing themselves $7,000 in what their time is worth. Then you throw in advertising, the 3.5% commission, because here's what happens. When a FISBO is selling themselves, they're going to wind up cutting. You see, according to NAR, we sell houses for 91% of the, 99% of the final listing price when it comes to market. So a homeowner winds up actually negotiating and coming down off their original listing price because they don't have the skill of negotiation. Anyway, here's my point, gang. If you were to take what it takes to sell a house as a FISBO, if you add up all the math, it probably will show the homeowners actually costing themselves in the end over 10%, so they're not saving the commission. Here's the other thing. If you were going to catch a fish, there's one of two ways that you can do it. You can go out into the lake and you throw a fishing line, or you can go, so for example, when a homeowner's trying to sell it themselves, they're sitting in the boat, and if they put an ad online, if they do some advertising like that internet advertising would be like a fishing line to catch the fish. Or let's say they do an open house themselves. That open house would be a fishing line to try and catch the fish. But you see, what we do as an agent, what I'll do for you as your agent, Mr. Ms. Hanna, with all the marketing that I do, I want you to imagine more like a fishing trawler going out into the ocean and bringing all these fish on board. Now, if you have all of these fish on board, you can be more selective, pick the best of the best. And that's why homeowners who work with an agent actually will net more money, because we create more demand, which means better buyers and a better price. The other agent said, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a commission. So in other words, a homeowner may be willing, if you show the property, they don't want to list with you, but they'll pay you, I don't know, 3% or 2%. Here's what I want you to say. Let's pretend Mr. and Mrs. Hanahana, you're going to get married. And I'm not you're going to get, sorry, let me start over. Your daughter's going to get married, right? So you want the best wedding cake you possibly can make. So you go to 6 different bakers and you say to each baker, listen, I want the best cake you can make. Now, I'm asking all these bakers, I'm asking 6 of you to bake me the best cake. Now, whichever cake comes out the best, that's the one I'm going to buy. How many of these 6 bakers are going to roll up their sleeves, start spending their money, their time, and their resources to bake you a cake without you making a commitment? The same thing is true here. When you say to the real estate market, bring me a buyer, then I will pay you a commission. You don't have any one agent rolling up their sleeves, spending their money, their time, and resource to try and get your house sold for the highest possible price. It just doesn't work. Now watch, here's another one. By the way, gang, this is a fire hose if you haven't figured it out. I am giving you, I don't expect you to do all of what I'm sharing, but pick the ones that you like, and those are the ones you use on a listing appointment. Let me ask you something, Mr. and Mrs. Hanan. If you were getting sued, would you go to court without an attorney? Of course not. You'd have somebody represent you. Let's say you went to court by yourself and you're getting sued. Would you pay the attorney's fee to that's suing you? Of course not. Why would you pay the person who's suing you? Why would you pay them? Well, that's exactly what you're doing here. When you're telling agents, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a fee, those agents are representing the buyers, not you. So what you're doing is you're paying a licensed trained agent in the state to work against you. That doesn't make any sense. Now, if you're willing to pay that 2 or 3%, why don't you pay the other portion and let me represent you with the other parties? It just makes sense. Let's talk about improving your listing appointment. Julie, I realize I probably have so much material here. How are we doing, Julie?
We're good. We're good. Just keep rocking and rolling, man.
All right. So listen, I don't have time to cover how to do a listing appointment. That's not it, but I want you to improve it. Now, Power Agents, in the listing tab, it goes through a checklist of what you need from start to finish on a listing appointment. That's going to be in that listing tab of the Power Program website. So Power Agents, I'm talking to you now, that form that I just showed you is there. Let me go through a few things that you can use. So there are 2 types of agents in real estate. There's the selling agent, there's the marketing agent. The selling agent likes to take buyers out and show property. A marketing agent, which is what I am in your case, is they like to take a house like any other product and market it to the other selling agents. If you had a choice to hire a selling agent or marketing agent, would you hire? Of course, the marketing agent. Now, this is why this is so important. To get the highest possible price, we got to get as many buyers through the front doors wanting the property. It's called supply and demand. The more demand we have, the better price that we can get. How do we do that? Is exposure, Mr. and Mrs. Hanahana, meaning every buyer in this price range of your house needs to be aware that your house is for sale. And how do we do that? Is marketing tools. The more tools we have, the more exposure, which means the more buyers, which drives the price. Now, this is why when it comes to selling a house, there's always 2 different prices. There's the for sale by owner price, and then there's the real estate agent's price, the realtor price. And here's why. Because being that a homeowner who's a FSBO has less marketing tools at their hands, their price is going to be less. Which, by the way, gang, I want to tell you something. Whenever you get a free CMA call, what you should be doing is instead of giving the 1 CMA price, you should be given 2 prices, the FSBO price and the real estate agent price. We got to start doing that. That's going to help you in your marketplace. One of the marketing tools that we have is the public open house. Now, we have a video that I'm concerned because of the other one in the comments that we got, Julie. But so let me tell you what this is. Sell Your House, Sell This House was on HGTV. What they did is they put hidden cameras in a house, they did an open house, and the buyers would give feedback, but the homeowner wasn't there. The buyers didn't know the homeowner was watching in a van the reaction of the buyers. Now, here's a video that, should I play this, Julie, or what?
Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit. Let's see if it's choppy.
All right, I'm just gonna play a little bit, gang.
Back in the,
I don't know.
huh, that's really strange.
Oh my goodness, Vicky. Oh my goodness, look at the shells. It's a seashell mirror.
What does that smell?
What does that smell? Okay, so let me just end this. So basically, gang, what's happening here is the buyers are going through the property, tearing it apart. And what you want to say to a homeowner is, Mr. Miss Hunter, when you're selling privately, you're not going to get that feedback from the buyers. As a matter of fact, they're going to tell you complimentary things to you. But when I do an open house, I'm going to hear this feedback, bring it back to you so you can make any changes you feel that's necessary. In other words, Mr. Mrs. Hanahana, I'm going to hear things you're never going to hear. That's why Colby Sambrado couldn't sell his own home. That's why people can't save the commission, because they're not getting the necessary feedback to get the property sold. Now, gang, we uploaded this video in the listing tab because I have talked about the HGTV show. I found that clip. That clip is awesome to use on a listing appointment, and we just did a short version of it. Here's the other thing, Mr. and Mrs. Hanna. When a buyer wants to buy your house, they like the house, they're going to now have to find financing. There's so many different options that a buyer has when it comes to financing. And here's the problem. When a buyer is faced with this, they get overwhelmed, confused, and they decide to not pull the trigger. Part of my job is to hold the buyer's hand and coach them through the process. This is another reason why a real estate agent is so valuable in the process of selling your home. Because when a buyer leaves your house, when you're selling privately, you can't follow up with them. You don't know what's going on after the showing. I stay with them during the whole process and help be a therapist, if you will, in making their decision. You know, one of the things we created, Power Agents, is this Sellopoly, which basically shows a homeowner there's so much that goes into selling a house. An agent doesn't just find the buyer. There's all of these stages that we bring a buyer through and bring a sale through, and homeowners don't realize all that we do. And I just really love this visual to show to a homeowner. Here's a couple other things. What we do as agents is that we can take houses and virtually create and clean up the house. We heard the expression staging, when a kitchen looks a little messy, and how we can tighten it up and remove some of the personal items. You know, you take a vacant house, you have this as an option to show a buyer what it might look like. These are things that a homeowner doesn't have access to when they're selling their home. Look at the front lawn. That's what it looks like, but this is how it could look like when you take care of the lawn and et cetera. So this company we recommend is called Box Brownie. That's the company that does this kind of photo editing. It's very powerful. By the way, Power Agents, in the Power program, there is a bunch of vendors like Box Brownie that we recommend, and it's in the Power Vendor tab, so you should check those out. Now, let's talk about buyer agency as we come to the part of the problem we have with buyer agency, gang, is that agency got created. So here's what happened. Nationally, what used to happen is there was just everybody worked for the seller. And then all of a sudden, buyer agency came into play where, okay, we're either representing the buyer, representing the seller, dual agent. And all of a sudden, that created a bit of a mess. And I think this lawsuit we're seeing is part of that confusion. And I was talking to some agents about this. And I'll bet you, if you ask the buyer, did they feel their agent was working for them, even though they didn't have a buyer agency signed agreement? The buyer would say, yeah, I feel like Mary Jo was working for my best interest, even though they didn't sign an agreement. And here's why I think that is because I looked at a bunch of different states that describe buyer agency, and it doesn't describe it clearly enough. It says, as your buyer's agent, I'm going to be ethical and fair and honest. We need to do more than that. We need to clearly define what we do as a buyer's agent or not. And I'm going to give you an example. We just created this for you. I'm going to skip over that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole webinar I did on buyers. I'm not going to go into that now, but that's also in the webinars of the Power program, Power Agents. We created this forum this week for you. Let's just look at something. Be a neighborhood resource for answers, like for price trends, school districts, research all active homes to find the best properties to meet your requirements, provide ready access to MLS, automated email delivery, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what we did is we put dollar volumes on these, which we have a blank one for you Power Agents that you can fill in your own numbers. But if you total it up, and that total at the bottom says $3,300, that does not include when we negotiate on behalf of the buyer, when we present an offer, right? So here's what we want to tell a buyer. At the bottom, the guaranteed minimum buyer agent fee for my service is blank, whatever you want to say, 2%, 3%, 2.5%, whatever. In many cases, the fee is paid by the listing agent. If the listing agent is paying less than my guaranteed minimum buyer's agent, the difference needs to be paid by the buyer. Now, of course, we can put that difference into the asking price so the buyer's not reaching into their pocket. But my point here is, gang, we need to say to a buyer, if I'm going to represent you, here's what I have to be guaranteed we're going to get paid. So that way, if an agent's offering less, etc. Now, here's another thing we created for you. As a seller's agent, here's what I cannot and may not do for you. Now, gang, this is very aggressive, but there's a good point to it. As a seller's agent, my fiduciary responsibility is to the home seller, not to you, the buyer. Therefore, I cannot advise you on the offer you should make when you find a home you like. After writing your offer, I will not negotiate the best price for you, but instead for the seller, because that's my obligation. I will represent your best interest. My responsibility is to I'm sorry, there's a typo there, Julie. Represent your best interest. That bullet will change that, and we'll make sure it's updated. I may not call you when there's a new listing that comes to market. I may not give you preferred treatment when new listings come in your price range. I may not show you everything in your price range. I may not always be available to help you once you go into contract on a home. Why? Because my obligation is to the seller and not to you. Gang, here's my point. You should let a buyer know if they're not going to guarantee your buyer's side that you need, then you say, fine, that means I'm representing the seller and I can't guarantee that I'm working in your interest because I have to work for the sellers. All right, how are we doing on time, Julie boy? Okay, so we're going to jump to this last part here. Let me just see here. What do we have? Okay, gang, give me 1 second. I'm probably gonna let me just do this. I want to just say one other thing, gang, that we need to do as an industry to raise the bar is improve what we're putting out on MLS. Because keep something in mind, when you put something into your MLS, it goes out to the world. Why? Because everybody picks it up. Realtor.com picks it up. Zillow picks it up. So when you misrepresent something or it's sloppy, let me give you, for instance. This MLS says there's 3 bedrooms. At the bottom, if you add it up, it's 3.5. Then if you look at this, this over here, it says 5 bedrooms. But at the bottom here, if you add it up, it's 6 bedrooms. But then over here in the remarks, it goes back to 5 bedrooms. It says the forget that part. It says the taxes are $8,600. Actually, the taxes are $10,000. How I know about this house is because that was an investment that I purchased, and so I found out all this information was wrong. This is a nice picture of a house in July. I don't think we should have a Christmas tree in July. There's too many cars in the driveway. And let's go to this one here. This is fine. What's that guy? Fine Elmo, or you should picture there with the 8. So here's my point, gang, is what we need to do as agents is put out better photos, accurate data to raise the bar in our industry. To summarize, we need to raise the bar. We need to believe in your value. We need to improve our communicating your skill, improving your listing conversation and using metaphors and analogies. Now listen, I have a bonus for you guys, and I want to tell you what that is because I want to get you these slides. As part of the Power program, It's $27 a month, and here's the bonuses. You receive the first 30 days free, and you have complete access to the website and a copy of today's slides. There's a bonus that we have for you, and I'm going to tell you how to get these bonuses. There is the top 40 things that buyer agents do to earn their commission to use when you're working with buyers, plus the copy of the video, the webinar, and the slides. And there's coaching calls that we do every Monday for our power agents where you can ask me questions live and I coach you. There's webinars on demand for you. There is the magazines that we do. This is all for $27 a month. For those of you that are not power agents, those of you that are, you need to be accessing these things like the Facebook group, which is pretty incredible. Now, we're gonna that's just another part of the Facebook, the website, the dedicated website, and we've organized the program for you in these categories. So when you click on it, there is a tremendous amount for you. This is just some of the things that you'll get access to. Our focus is to help you in these 3 skill sets: attitude, the listing and selling, and business skills. So what you need to do if you want to get the bonuses today, if you want to get the bonuses today and a copy of the slides and all the other stuff that we have, go to that website, thepowerprogram.com/webinar bonus. Do that now because it is going to be limited time, and then we'll email you this whole set, the slide deck, unedited, so you can actually change it. You'll have the PowerPoint and everything else. Did I cover everything, Julie?
You did. Goodness, you were not wrong when you said it was a fire hose today.
I'm sweating over here, Julie. That was going so fast. All right.
No,
So
that was awesome.
Is there anything else, Jules, that we need to cover before we let everybody go?
I don't think so. A lot of people are asking if they can get a copy of the slides.
That's how you do it. Listen, gang, let me tell you one thing before you go. Just stay right there. If you go to thepowerprogram.com/webinar bonus, you can sign up to become a power agent, and we don't charge you the first 30 days. You can cancel anytime. But during that free 30 days, you will get the slides, you will get the webinar, you'll get all the stuff, especially access to the site. What you could do is then cancel before the 30 days are up, and now you have everything. So I just told you how to rip me off. So, but that's what you could do. You could totally do that. So is there anything else, Julie?
People who want to know how to get a link, we're going to be sending everybody an email. So you'll get that. What's the website one more time? Didn't go through for some people, so it's
for what?
Right there on the slide, thepowerprogram.com/webinar bonus.
Yeah, Julie, what we'll do is, because we've covered everything and it's 1 o'clock, I'll stay on the call now for another 5-10 minutes to answer any questions. So read me whatever the questions are. So the question about where to get the slides is when you go to the powerprogram.com/webinar bonus, you will then sign up to become a power agent. And then when you become a power agent, we will email you these slides. Now, power agents, existing power agents, we will be doing the same thing with you. You don't have to sign up. So current power agents, you don't have to go to that website. We're going to automatically send it to you. Any other questions, Julie, that we should cover real quick?
Donald wants to know where he can find the iBUYER webinar. You can find that in our blog.
If you go to the blog, and if you just go through, when you go to the blog, you'll just scroll down and you'll see iBUYER webinar, okay? Now, if you're a power agent, if you go to Classroom and then you go to the tab called Webinar, you will see all of the webinars, including the iBUYER. What else, Julie?
And
maybe that's it.
Pardon?
Okay, maybe if there was no other questions, that's fine. No, you have another one? Go ahead.
FSBO versus agent, is that stat skewed? Because what is the likelihood that FSBOs are mansions? Normally FSBOs are considered smaller properties?
No, any of the stats that I gave you either came from NAR or it came from USA Today or it came from, I mean, everything that I gave you is not skewed. Those are real numbers and their percentages.
What distinguishes our program from others?
Oh, okay. So a couple of things. First of all, we teach you the listings and selling skills of real estate, what to say, when to say, and how to say it. Like if you got any value in this 1 hour, that's what the power program is. So even though we have stuff about doing referrals or mailings, self-promotion, social media, like we have that, our focus is the listing and selling. And our philosophy, the Power Agent philosophy, is we don't sell people, we serve people. We don't close people, we coach people. So it's a different, it's more of a consultative philosophy than it is about being a hard salesperson.
Wonderful. I think that's it for questions. Unless you
All
guys
right.
have any more, type them in.
Make sure, gang, you get to the website right now, thepowerprogram.com/webinar bonus, all one word. And I look forward to working with you guys. We're going to do this every month, these webinars, and as we have been doing, and every Monday. So if you get registered today, you'll be on Monday's call. All right, gang, go out there, get them. Let's raise the bar of our industry. Let's make a difference in people's lives. And one last thing I'll leave you with, we don't just help people buy and sell real estate. We actually help them get to their next level. So the more people we help get to their next level, the more money we make. The money is a gauge as to how many lives we've touched. So focus on that and the money will follow. God bless you, gang. Thanks for calling in, and I'll look forward to talking to you on the Monday call. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Darryl.